So I am the author of the Brimstone Angels Saga, which is 6 books. Starts with Brimstone Angels, it ends with The Devil You Know, and they follow the tiefling warlock Farideh as she sort of starts out as an adventurer, sort of becomes the unwilling chosen of Asmodeus, and eventually stops the hells from collapsing into Faerun. One thing that's really great is I had the space to have a character who sort of has high-level problems and low-level problems. So, I will tell people that what this series is this the story of how your family becomes your family of origin. How you grow up and you leave sort of your in her case, her father and her twin sister, they start to kind of grow up and spread their wings and try new things and fail, and how scary that is, and how those relationships have to reshape around the sort of the truth of your experience there. It's also about devils and the blood war, and I got to do a lot of really fun things with the Dragonborn and sort of filling out the culture of that character race in the Forgotten Realms. And all of that is a lot of fun to do. It's a little surreal, right? It's really exciting. I love what they've done with her. They've been very interested in making sure that she feels true to the novels, that I'm happy, and that players are happy, and they've done a magnificent job of doing all of those things. And it's kind of fun because she's sort of like an version, so she can have things that she would have had in the early books. She can have things be true that are true in the later books, which gives more fun experience. And it's also really great because I know a lot of people who have never heard of Farideh or the Brimstone Angels Saga are sort of introduced to it, and now they get to come and check this out. And same way, my readers who maybe hadn't heard of Idle Champions, they get to come and check it out because they love this character. She has an ability where she manifests as the chosen of Asmodeus, which is something that happens in the 3rd book of the series and on. And she basically lights on fire and gets these giant flaming wings and sends a fear effect out on everybody. So she does a modified version of that in the game. But it's kind of cool, right? She gets these huge burning wings, which is kind of a cool splashy effect. So the new character is going to be Havilar, who is Farideh's twin sister. I have been joking for a long time that Havilar is pretty peeved that Farideh's the one who got to be in the monster fighting game, because Havilar's a fighter. She has a glaive. There are a lot of ways that Havilar has probably not got the best int, but she is really smart about using that weapon. And so, this is her jam. Going in the front lines, chopping down monsters, and Farideh gets all the attention. But I think it will be a lot of fun to have them together. I can't wait to see the way that they end up playing as a unit. I've seen some of the animations. I've done some of the descriptions with Chris Dupuis, and it's really cool. I think she looks delightful. It's fun because they are identical twins, with the exception of Farideh has a heterochromia, so one of her eyes is a weird color. And so part of me was like, this should be easy. You just, paste a face over. But Alexis has done a really cool job because they look the same in a lot of ways, but she looks like a whole other person. It's really wonderful because they tell me they want to do this, and they ask, we have a meeting and they ask me questions about the character and, what kind of things will be important and what will be iconic, what sort of elements are to the way that they fight, but also the way things like what would a funny little animation be, right? For Farideh, that was there's a line in the book that she puts a lot of sugar in her tea, and so she's just dumping sugar in a cup of tea forever and then drinking it, and it's adorable and I love it, right? There's another one where she just blushes and starts kind of leaking shadow smoke, which is I think it was a play on the Warlock in 4th edition had a thing where they would get concealment in certain circumstances. I was like, that's when she gets nervous, she tries to do concealment. And so for Havilar, it was also really fun because a lot of the things that we did for Farideh had sort of a reference to Havilar's. So there was a question of what do we do to fill that spot? Because Farideh has chapbooks in her bag, but they're in the description, they're Havilar's chapbooks. And we just decided there's more chapbooks. But she has there's a really fun thing where when she has her sort of unlikely chosen of Asmodeus powers, she ends up with these imps that show up to help her. And so the imps became an item, and they have a really delightful mechanic coming that involves them that I love because it's great for the game and it's fun, but it also is a little wink and a nod to what happens in the books. The impression I get from talking to people is that these characters are very grounded, and I spent a lot of time sort of balancing the problems of, okay, you know, you're fighting Shadowvar in an underground library and there's a resurrected mummy that's chasing you, but also you're trying to figure out if this boy likes you. Or you're having this problem where your adult daughter is saying, you're not treating me like an adult, and you feel like you're doing fine. Oh, wait, no, you're not. So there's that sort of like real life problems mixed in with the D&D problems, which I think gives it a lot of space for you to kind of connect to that character. And I also think that's a thing that we do often. Sometimes when we play, we just want to be, you know, the hero that fills the hero mold, and we don't want to think about real world stuff. But sometimes when we play, we want to have a dramatic backstory. You know, we want to have a big reaction when we see that NPC from our past. We want to have that really inconvenient phobia that makes for an interesting session. So I feel like that was my opportunity to sort of take it in the perspective of a novel. And they're, you know, they're fun, and they're sort of, they've become kind of iconic tiefling characters, and look like a tiefling. I feel like the most important thing for me, it's really broad to say I have to understand them. But I feel like it matters a lot to kind of be able to understand that character enough to know in any given moment, like, what are they going to do next? And being able to kind of feel your way through those paths. I find that I really have to establish a kind of a gut feeling when I set off on that, because otherwise you get a plot and then you just march them down the plot, and you don't necessarily know, like, none of this is going to work because they wouldn't do that. So I find like that I'll like kind of write looking for what I call like the kernel scene, where you kind of go, okay, this is who they are, and this is how they're motivated, and this is how they react to things. And what's really lovely about writing a long series like Brimstone Angels Saga is that, you know, I do this work in the first book, and as the books progress, it sort of shifts and changes as they shift and change. But it's like a long kind of natural arc, instead of having to, you know, you don't have to do it again every time, but you get to watch it kind of blossom and grow, and it's really exciting.